Let's be honest, the moment you start feeling like she's avoiding you, your mind begins racing. You replay every conversation, every laugh, every pause, asking yourself, did I say something wrong? But here's the truth, most men never realize. When a woman pulls back, it's not always rejection. Sometimes it's fear. Fear of catching feelings she can't control, fear of losing her independence, fear of giving her heart and discovering it belongs somewhere she never expected. And if you're paying close attention, there are subtle signs that reveal the signs most men completely misread. You see, women operate on an emotional radar that is instinctual and subconscious. When a man triggers this radar, when he shows qualities that remind her of safety, strength, or emotional availability, first reaction is often not to lean in, but to pull away. That's right. The avoidance, you see, isn't a lack of attraction, it's a defense mechanism. She's scared because she's noticing emotions growing faster than she can manage, scared because her mind is already imagining a life where feelings matter more than she expected. What does this look like in real life? It could be her taking longer to respond to messages, but when she does, her words carry warmth and curiosity. It could be her creating distance physically yet lingering near you in social settings. And it could be subtle, her glances linger too long. Her body leans toward you even when her words say otherwise. These are paradoxes men often fail to interpret. He thinks she's pulling away, she's not interested. But the reality, her pullback is often a signal of something far more powerful, a rising tide of feelings she doesn't yet trust. The tricky part is most men respond to this by chasing, by trying harder to make her warm up. But when a woman is scared of catching feelings, this only amplifies her instinct to retreat. The more you pursue, the more her mind equates closeness with emotional risk. And suddenly, what could have been a slow, organic connection becomes a battlefield of tension and misunderstanding. The secret you need to understand is this: you cannot force a heart to open faster than it is ready. What you can do is recognize the signs, respect the boundaries her instincts are setting, and create an environment where she feels safe to explore those feelings without fear of judgment or pressure. Notice her subtle touches, her quiet interest, the moments she lets her guard down. These are the clues that tell you she's not avoiding you. She's wrestling with a deeper fear of emotional vulnerability. Most men ignore this and lose her entirely because they interpret distance as disinterest rather than as the first stage of emotional attachment. But if you learn to see the difference, the nuanced pull and push, you unlock a power that most men never access. The ability to draw her closer, not by force, but by understanding the psychology that governs her emotions. Because here's the thing, women are wired to protect their hearts, but they also seek men who recognize, respect, and respond to that fear in ways that make them feel truly safe. Most men don't realize that when a woman pulls back, her mind isn't just protecting her heart, it's testing yours. Every subtle word, every hesitation, every glance is part of a mental puzzle she's unconsciously assembling. Is he someone I can trust with what I'm feeling? Can he handle the weight of my emotions if they grow too fast? And here's the truth most men miss. When she pulls away, it's not about your worth. It's about her readiness to confront her own emotional walls. Think about if you ever notice that women who are deeply attracted to you can seem aloof at first. They may cancel plans, take hours to reply, or act distant in ways that feel confusing. But if you observe closely, you'll see tiny cracks in that distance. She laughs at your jokes longer than she should. She remembers the smallest details you mentioned. She finds ways to cross paths with you, even when it's inconvenient. These aren't signs of disinterest. They're signals that her emotional firewall is weakening, even if her conscious mind is screaming to protect herself. Here's where most men fail. They misinterpret these signs as rejection. Frustration sets in and they start overanalyzing every interaction. They send more messages, they try to prove themselves, they act needy without even realizing it. What this does is trigger exactly what she's trying to avoid, an emotional avalanche she's not prepared to handle. The more pressure she feels, the more she retreats. And ironically, the closer she is to falling for you, the more terrified she becomes. The psychology behind this is simple but profound. Women are wired to respond to men who provide stability, patience, and emotional intelligence. When she feels safe, her feelings can grow without fear. But when she senses chaos, urgency, or neediness, her instincts override attraction. This is why the man who understands this dynamic doesn't chase. He observes. He respects the pace, and he becomes a quiet anchor in her storm of emotions. Now, the interesting part is that fear of catching feelings often manifests in subtle avoidance behaviors that men misread as disinterest. She may pull back from late-night calls. She may decline intimate invitations. She may seem preoccupied, but underneath it, her subconscious is wrestling with the desire to move closer. If you can see past the surface, recognize the subtle signals, and give her space while maintaining your own emotional strength, you position yourself as the man she wants but can't yet admit she needs. This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's understanding female psychology at a level most men never reach. The key is not to overanalyze every move, but to notice the moments when her defenses falter, the hand that brushes yours accidentally, the glance that lingers, the laugh that seems more personal than it should. These are the breadcrumbs leading you to her heart. She's not avoiding you, she's scared. And if you handle that fear with patience and intelligence, you become the safe harbor where she finally allows herself to feel. The moment a woman starts pulling back, it's often because she's confronting feelings she never planned to have. And here's the part most men completely miss. Attraction isn't always a straight line. It's messy, it's contradictory, and it's often terrifying for her. She might act distant, cancel plans, or hesitate to commit in conversation. But these aren't signs of disinterest. They're signs of emotional overwhelm. The subtle panic that comes when her heart is quietly leaning toward you faster than her mind can catch up. Think about it. Every time she avoids your calls or hesitates to reply, part of her is doing mental gymnastics. Do I let him in? Can I trust him with what I feel? What happens if I care too much and get hurt? And the truth is, the stronger her feelings grow, the more likely she is to create distance. It's not legis, it's biology. Women's emotional systems are wired to protect. And when attraction triggers vulnerability, the instinct is retreat. But here's where men often sabotage everything without even knowing it. They misread avoidance as a lack of attraction and react with frustration, jealousy, or over-persistence. What they fail to understand is that emotional fear is fragile. Push too hard and she withdraws completely. Give her patience, respect her pace, and suddenly every subtle signal of interest, she's sending her lingering eye contact, the quiet teasing. The moment she finds excuses to be near you becomes amplified. She begins to relax. Let her walls down and allow her feelings to exist without guilt or panic. There's a subtle art to reading this. Notice when she shares small personal details, things she wouldn't normally tell anyone. Pay attention when her humor shifts toward playful intimacy or when her body language unconsciously mirrors yours. These are the cracks in her defenses, the proof that beneath the avoidance there's desire. And if you recognize these moments and respond with calm confidence rather than anxiety, you reinforce safety. She desperately needs to explore what she's feeling. Here's the paradox. The closer she is to falling for you, the more she acts like she's not interested. The fear of catching feelings is strongest when emotional attachment is forming fastest. She's not rejecting you, she's protecting herself from a vulnerability she's not ready to face. And this is where men who truly understand female psychology have the advantage. They don't chase, they observe, they decode, and they create a presence so stable that her mind eventually trusts her heart enough to follow. So pay attention to the little things that feel like contradictions. Delayed texts that still carry warmth, casual touches that linger too long, playful arguments that end in laughter. These are the footprints of attraction hidden beneath caution. She's not avoiding you because you're unworthish. She's avoiding her own feelings. And if you learn to read these signs correctly, you become the man who isn't just noticed. You become the man she quietly wants but hasn't yet admitted to herself. The moment a woman starts acting distant, it's not because she doesn't care. It's because she's testing something far bigger than attraction. She's testing your emotional stability, your patience, your ability to hold your ground without losing your confidence. Every subtle hesitation, every delayed response, every "I'm busy" is a reflection of her inner struggle. She's balancing curiosity and desire against fear. Fear of catching feelings she isn't ready to manage. And most men completely miss this critical truth. What separates the men who lose her from the men who quietly draw her in is understanding the difference between chase and presence. Chasing triggers fear and distance. Presence triggers trust and emotional security. If she senses you panicking at her withdrawal, she perceives instability. If she senses calm curiosity, she perceives strength. And strength is magnetic. To women, it signals safety, stability, and the kind of confidence that makes her feel secure enough to explore her emotions. You've probably noticed the subtle contradictions. She smiles at you more than others. She remembers tiny details. She teases you in ways that hint at emotional intimacy. Yet, she keeps an arm's length physically. These moments are not coincidence, they're clues. They reveal that she's caught in an emotional crossfire between attraction and fear. And here's the psychological truth most men never realize. The more she tries to protect herself, the more powerful her feelings are growing underneath the surface. Here's how to act. Observe without suffocating. Engage without demanding. Be a presence that doesn't overwhelm a man who radiates stability without trying to control her feelings. The more she feels that her emotions won't consume her, the more willing she is to allow them to exist. Watch her closely for the small signs that she's softening. A lingering glance, a subtle touch, a laugh that's more personal than casual. These are not random. They're the early stages of emotional surrender. And don't underestimate the power of silence. The man who can hold himself in patience without over-explaining, without forcing conversation, without sending message after message, becomes a puzzle she wants to solve. Women love mystery because it's safe. Mystery doesn't demand commitment yet, but it invites curiosity and desire. By resisting the urge to chase, you create an environment where she feels free to explore her feelings without fear. The paradox is simple. Attraction grows strongest when the mind feels safe, not pressured. She's not rejecting you. She's wrestling with the intensity of her own feelings. And if you recognize the pattern, if you understand the subtle signs of fear hiding beneath interest, you can become the man who doesn't just attract her, but who draws her in so deeply that she can't imagine resisting. Patience, presence, and understanding, these are your tools. Master them, and her fear transforms into fascination. One of the most confusing things for men is when she seems hot and cold, engaging one moment, distant the next. And here's the secret. She's not trying to confuse you. Her mind is battling a war between instinct and emotion. Attraction pulls her forward, but fear of catching feelings pushes her back. Every push is a sign of attachment. Every pull is a defense mechanism. Most men interpret this as disinterest, but in reality, it's a blueprint of her heart, if you know how to read it. Women are wired to protect their emotions until they feel completely safe. That means when she likes you, you won't always get a straight, predictable response. She may initiate contact and then vanish. She may flirt freely, but act reserved in moments of intimacy. She may compliment you with her words while her body stays slightly withdrawn. Every contradiction is evidence that her feelings exist. They're just too intense for her to express fully yet. The danger is overreaction. Men who misread these signals tend to panic, chase, or try to force clarity. That pressure triggers her fear and amplifies the avoidance instinct. She retreats because she doesn't want her emotions to spiral out of control. Not because you've done anything wrong, but a man who understands female psychology sees the pattern differently. He notices the subtle cues hidden beneath the distance, the glances she can't hold back, the laughs that linger, the moments her tone softens when she's speaking to you. Here's the key. Respond with calm consistency. Be the man whose presence is predictable but intriguing, whose confidence never wavers regardless of her emotional oscillation. Validate her unspoken fears without verbalizing them. Let her see that emotional intimacy with you is safe, that vulnerability doesn't equal danger. In doing so, you reverse the fear response, replacing it with curiosity, desire, and growing attachment. The real mastery comes in recognizing the moments where her pullback is a protective shield and the moments where it's a subtle invitation. When she shares personal details, laughs at your most daring jokes, or finds excuses to spend time with you despite claiming to be busy, she's signaling readiness. She's quietly letting herself fall without admitting it yet. These moments are gold, and men who can spot them without overreacting hold the key to deep connection. This oscillation, the dance between fear and desire, isn't a game she's playing. It's biology, instinct, and subconscious emotional intelligence at work. And the man who understands it doesn't chase or demand. He becomes the safe harbor where her fears dissolve, the steady presence that allows her curiosity and attraction to flourish naturally. She's not avoiding you because she doesn't care. She's avoiding the intensity of her own growing feelings. Recognize it, respect it, and watch how her hesitation slowly transforms into emotional surrender. The truth about women who pull back is simpler than most men want to admit. She's not avoiding you because you're inadequate. She's avoiding the intensity of her own feelings. She's scared of catching feelings she can't yet control. Scared of being vulnerable and terrified of losing her independence to something her heart is whispering she wants, but her mind isn't ready to claim. And here's the part most men never realize. This fear is not a barrier. It's a doorway. It's a doorway to deeper connection if you know how to walk through it without forcing it. Think about her actions. Every delayed text, every hesitant laugh, every subtle glance is a signal secret language of attraction disguised as distance. When she steps back, pay attention to what remains. Does she still smile when she sees you? Does she remember small details about your life? Does she find excuses to be near you despite her apparent reservations? These are not contradictions. They are her heart testing the waters, her emotions trying to survive in a safe, controlled way. And if you recognize these signs and respond with patience and calm, you create an environment where she can finally let herself feel without fear. Here's the crucial mindset shift most men never understand. Attraction is about emotional safety, not pressure. The man who panics, chases, or demands clarity triggers fear and pushes her away. The man who observes, respects, and demonstrates quiet confidence becomes magnetic. You don't have to force her heart open. You don't have to explain your intentions 100 times. You simply exist as the steady, unwavering presence she subconsciously begins to trust. That trust becomes fascination. Fascination becomes desire. And desire eventually overcomes even the strongest fear of catching feelings. Notice the subtle signs that indicate she's leaning in even while appearing distant. A lingering glance, a laugh that carries extra warmth, a casual touch that lingers longer than expected. Moments when she shares something personal she wouldn't tell just anyone. These are the footprints of her growing attachment hidden beneath the veil of avoidance. The more you can recognize them without overreacting, the more you become the safe harbor she's looking for without even realizing it. This is where psychology meets strategy. Women are wired to protect their hearts until they feel absolute safety. When you honor that protection, you become the man she can't resist emotionally. She starts to seek you out, to test you in ways that feel like contradictions, but are really her subconscious inviting closeness. The key is not to chase or panic. It's to maintain your presence, your confidence, and your patience. Let her feel her feelings at her own pace. Watch as her walls slowly crumble and her emotional attachment grows organically, stronger than any man who tries to force her hand could achieve. Here's the reality most men never face. If you misinterpret her avoidance as rejection, you lose her. If you interpret it as fear of feelings and respond with patience, understanding, and unwavering presence, you become the man she can't stop thinking about. The pullback that once seemed like a roadblock transforms into a bridge to emotional intimacy, trust, and a connection deeper than casual attraction. She isn't avoiding you, she's navigating the complexity of her own heart. And if you understand the signs, you can guide her safely across that bridge. So, here's my challenge to you. Think about the woman who's on your mind right now. Are you interpreting her distance as disinterest, or are you reading it as fear of catching feelings? I want you to take a moment and do a little mental equation. Notice one sign she shows interest, subtract the fear-based distance, and multiply that by your patience and confidence. That's the formula to move her closer emotionally. Comment below what you see and share your experience. And if this video helped you decode the subtle language of attraction, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear